And I sent Karl a few new podcasts last week, and I was trying to remember, Karl, which ones was I talking about besides the Cyruses? There was another one, wasn't there?
Yeah, Cam Newton has a podcast that you sent me.
Yeah, we'll have to check that out eventually, I suppose. I thought there was one more that interested me, but you chose quickly Tish Cyrus and her daughter Brandi, and I declare Brandi to be the hottest Cyrus. What do you think, Karl?
It's so funny you say that. I was thinking the same thing. Miley's got a great body, but never really did it for me. Brandi's definitely more attractive.
She's really pretty.
Yeah, and also her voice is somehow less annoying, although I guess that's probably true of most people.
She was probably the least annoying person in the podcast.
Oh, 100%. It's not saying much, but yes. This is a show called Sorry We're Stoned. And it stars Trish and Brandi Cyrus. This just started. So the YouTube channel joined January 17th, 2024. They're up to almost 18,000 subs. The video that just came out, which is called Finding Love with the Brooklyn Cowboy Gashi, is up to about 7,200 views.
They have, wait, doesn't it seem like they should have more subscriptions than that or subscribers?
I was surprised by that. Yeah, they have less than WATP does right now, but they just joined a couple months ago.
Yeah, this is not something I would think people would go back to, but maybe when they hear your clips, maybe people will feel differently.
I'm sure that's how most people discover these types of shows. So let me just read the description so we can all get a sense for this. Mother-daughter duo Tish and Brandi Cyrus hop on and hot box their mics every Thursday to give you stoners an inside look at Hollywood's craziest and most fun, obviously, family. Each week, they rehash Cyrus family stories and share their hottest and highest take on pop culture and current happenings.
Oh, man. No, the Brooklyn Cowboy, Gashi, the guest who makes music and does pretty well, I guess. I was blown away, Karl. This guy just spills everything.
Yeah, I guess that's the new thing that happens now. And I want to give you a sense for, I'll use the word, the vibe of the show. We're going to start with track number 1. This is the cold open. And I don't think they're even using these words correctly.
Outlaw country is my vibe. Outlaw country.
You're a vibe.
I'm serious. I love outlaw country.
Yeah, you are a vibe.
I would just like to say, I knew you two were going to love each other.
I love her.
Are we rolling?
Yeah, we're rolling.
Oh, yay.
Jesus Christ.
They don't even introduce him for like 3 minutes, Karl.
No, they don't. And also, what does it mean that you're a vibe? What does that mean?
I have no idea.
Nothing. It means nothing.
I just assume they're cooler than I, and therefore I don't know what it is, and I should. But
no, it's the fakest conversation ever. This entire podcast is nothing but a fake conversation. I think people see right through it, but maybe I'm the idiot. I'll let you guys judge. So then they play the little intro thing, and it's a bunch of glamour shots of them in their convertible.
Yeah.
So I guess the whole takeaway here is that these two like to smoke weed a lot. Okay. So,
although they didn't. Did they even mention weed in the show? They didn't.
No, because Gashi is 11 years sober.
Oh, that's right.
I don't think they wanted to talk a lot about hot boxing with him.
Why are you having somebody 11 years sober
makes
on?
no sense.
That's weird.
I mean, the name of the show is Sorry We're Stoned. Come on.
Yeah, well, they are apologizing, so I'll give them that.
All right, fair.
All right, so we'll go to my next clip. So after they play the intro, so we just saw the cold open and the intro, and then we're right back in on the vibe talk.
Oh, God.
This is why I was like, we have to get Gashi on the pod because he's such a vibe just in general. And I just knew you two were going to get along.
Oh, I love that.
Like when he walked in, like I was stopped in my tracks. I'm like, what is happening? Because I am literally obsessed and
I
here
love
for
you.
it.
Thank you so much.
Your vibe is my everything.
Oh my God. I didn't keep count, but the amount of times that people said they loved each other on the show was just out of control.
Yeah, these are people who, so Tish and Gashi have never met before, and Brandi and Gashi met one time backstage at a concert.
Oh, that's all?
Yes.
He goes on and on about how much he loves her.
Oh, we'll get into that because they follow each other on social media. So that's the new getting to know you.
Oh, Jesus.
I guess. In 2024, it's like, oh, yeah, we're best friends. I follow your Instagram. So obviously we know everything there is to know about each other. But I just want to point out some of the things that were said in there. It was said, he's such a vibe just in general. and then Tish also said, your vibe is my everything. What does that mean?
It's so stupid.
It's so stupid. Okay.
And
so
then he
let's keep this
says
going.
crazy things too, Karl. And Tish, and I'm sure you know this, she agrees with everything he says, and she loves everything he says.
Oh, these two are the same person. And this starts off right at the beginning. My third clip on here, you'll find out that they know each other, even though they don't know each other.
I mean, I feel like we're similar people.
Yeah.
Very similar people.
Well, your energy
Yeah.
is very like Libra, Gemini, Taurus energy.
Taurus.
Yeah, I knew
Yeah.
you were a Taurus.
Oh, shut the fuck up.
When you meet someone, you automatically know like what their astrological sign is, right, Mark?
Yeah, because that's a thing.
I always ask too.
It's a real thing.
Save that for the astrology shows because most people don't give a fuck, right?
Exactly.
Well, it's amazing that there's two women and a guy on there, and the guy's the one who brings it up.
I know.
Yeah, but look what he's wearing.
It's very weird.
Even Tish goes, "Yeah, I'm not really all that into astrology, but sure, yeah, I am a Taurus. You got me there." Okay, so then we'll keep this going. My fourth clip on here is we're gonna find out why they have the same vibe.
Oh, good.
Cool. I mean, the thing is with me is like, I love love, right?
So does she.
I say it almost every podcast.
Yeah, I love love. Well, I haven't seen it.
I
and
love love.
I love love though. But you're a Taurus.
Yeah.
Like we're all three of us are very similar, you know. But I love love, and it might make me soft, but I'm like a very vulnerable person.
This is what works now, right?
I guess. I don't know. I don't get it at all. And Drew and I were messaging with each other watching the show. And one of the things that you picked up on are these non sequiturs that Gashi goes on. So after the thing where he says, "I love love," for some reason that gets him going into the fact that he was born in Africa and he was a refugee and homeless. None of it has anything to do with anything.
Can I ask a question? Who is he?
Is he country music star?
He's a rapper. He's a pop artist, and I guess he's working on, or he recorded it in 2020. It's coming out this year.
Okay.
It's a country album that's like a pop album.
So he's like a jelly roll.
That name was brought up during this
Okay.
show. And apparently he's popular. I'm glad you've never heard of him.
I've
either.
never. Well, I'm not in that country world. so.
He was explaining his career, and then he suddenly went into a crazy non sequitur about his 4 nephews. I mean, out of nowhere. So this guy, you never really learn the end of anything with him.
Yeah, actually, let's go right to my track number 6 because this is a perfect example of how this show goes, where he's talking about his album and what he's done as an artist. And like you said, Drew, this non sequitur makes zero sense that he goes into this.
My first album went #1. I've had 9 gold records. I've had platinum records, and I'm still nowhere where I want to be. I'm constantly evolving. I'm constantly trying to I'm barely scratching the surface.
Yep.
I love what I do. I love my nephews. They're the best thing ever. I have 4 of them.
What?
And I think one of them gets special treatment because he's the first one and he looks like me, which is so
Aw.
weird.
No, it's not.
But it's the best. Having nephews is the best. You get to play with them, chill with them, and then give them back.
Totally.
And I love, I just feel like I'm their dad because I pay for everything, right?
What?
That's the definition of father. Whoever
How do you
pays for
think their
stuff.
dad would feel about him saying
Yeah, what a
that?
shitty thing to say.
Plus, he says you can take them and give them back, and then he says, "I'm like their father. I pay for everything." Well, I want more explanation of that, and you get none.
Well, Drew, let me explain. See, I have this podcast, and I love my nephews, and I hang out with my nephews, and I'm a big family guy, so we go out on the weekends together.
Also, is it weird that one of them looks like him? It's his nephew.
Yeah, of course, not at all.
Well, I do like that he says I have a favorite. That's always good too. I don't know if you really want to say that on a podcast.
The hat that he's wearing, it's a cowboy hat with the NY for the Yankees.
Yankees, yeah.
I would love it if the Yankees wore that for a game, just for shits and gigs instead of a baseball cap. Actually wore a cowboy hat.
Well, I'm glad you picked up on that. I don't have the clip, but I thought, Drew, we could explain what his amazing business plan was for this hat.
Is it making baseball logos on hats?
Everyone wants that hat. Tish wants it. Brandi wants it. And that's not enough for him. He wants to set up a system where fans can buy the hat, and then he signs it, and it becomes their concert ticket for life.
Yeah, so what he said was that he's going to make that hat with every different baseball logo on it. And then when he goes on tour, he's going to try to get some kind of distribution so you can go purchase the hat before the show, and then that hat gets you into the show. And the logistical nightmare of this, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, I don't think they've thought that through terribly
Well, I
carefully.
mean, has he approached Major League Baseball about the rights to use the logos for the hat?
Great question.
Of course not.
No, it's the dumbest idea, and of course they love it. I think it's so great. It's ridiculous. That can't be a ticket.
Let's get back to the vibe and the love that they're sharing and how they feel like they've known each other forever. My track number 11. So now we're like 35 minutes in on the show. You know, started off with the, oh my gosh, I feel like I know you, your vibe, everything's amazing. And this comes back around again.
Yo, why are you mean?
It's just crazy.
You're like my twin. It's like crazy. I love you. Seriously, you are my twin.
I mean, it's weird, right?
It's so weird. It's like once we locked, we're
I
like,
know.
felt like we knew each other
I know.
forever.
I feel
You
like
guys are
we
too
are
good.
very, very, very much alike.
It's so crazy.
Yeah.
I swear to God, I'm not saying that.
no, me either.
I feel like a connection.
No, me too.
They're not saying anything.
Hold on. I just picked up on something. Is he trying to fuck her?
Oh yeah, totally.
Carl, I wondered about that, but she just got married like a month ago.
Yeah, and she's very much in love, and her husband's sober for her and all this stuff.
Do you think he cares? I mean, come
Well,
on.
no, but I mean, given the two options, I'd probably want to fuck the daughter.
Sure.
Personally, I don't know.
Well, he's hitting pretty hard on her, too. He loves her. He says it over and over and over.
Yes, he does. And that's another weird thing because in my clip number 7 here, he talks about what his inspiration is. And he really has 2 inspirations. And one of them just happens to be one of the co-hosts of this show somehow.
That's what I love about following you, because I feel like Ralph Lauren is my dad, basically, because I
Yes.
just like, he's my everything.
Yep.
He's my motivation. He's everything to me. And being tasteful is Ralph Lauren, right?
Absolutely.
And I feel like that's what you are to me. I feel like,
Oh,
yeah,
sweetie.
you're so fucking dope. Like
You're so cute.
everything you do is motivational for me.
Oh, I love
Because like you said,
that. Sweet.
you're like not all the way country, but you sprinkle your shit, your sauce to it, and you do it your way, like the way you dress, the way you take your pictures, the way you do shit. To me is like fucking awesome because it motivated me to be like, you know what? I don't need to do it this way.
So,
Right.
He's still trying to
Carl,
get laid.
if he's trying to fuck them, that explains a lot of stuff in the show that was really difficult to understand.
He's still trying to get laid.
You know what, Drew? I think you and I are both realizing what's going on here now. Like, oh,
totally.
okay, now this starting to make sense. He wants to have a mother-daughter threesome.
But he was so weird about everything, and he just spills the most ridiculous shit. I just thought, this guy's just kind of off. But he says he's sober and he loves them so much. So I don't know. I took him at his word. How stupid of me.
Does he not have anything to say? I mean, he sounds like he's just rambling about, just how much he likes them because he doesn't have anything else to say to them because I don't think he really knows them.
Well,
No,
yeah,
he
so this
doesn't.
is what I was picking up on there. So he mentioned Ralph Lauren is like his father.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means, but
Does that mean does that mean that Ralph Lauren is his nephew's dad too?
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
wait, he's not
Pays for
paying.
everything.
He's not paying for anything though, Ralph
I think
Lauren.
he means his style father.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Right, because so then he goes on to say that he's all about Brandi Cyrus because Brandi was talking earlier about how she incorporates country music into her stuff. She's like a DJ or something. She incorporates country music into her stuff, but it's not totally country. So he just repeated that back to her, which is, by the way, if you want to get into a girl's pants, repeat stuff back to them. They're like, oh my gosh, this guy knows me. But then he goes on to talk about how, I love your style. I love the way you take photos. This is someone who's just like looked at her Instagram an hour before he went on the show. I'm like, all right, what am I going to talk about?
Like any guy, right?
We're friends on Facebook.
Yeah, he may have spent a lot of time looking at her stuff. Actually, the more this is going on, the more I think that theory makes some sense because I just found this guy to be just so off-putting. He's just so, he said, oh, maybe I'm soft. I love love. But it's like, why are you saying this stupid shit? I mean,
True. His inspiration is Brandi, right? Or isn't?
Yeah, Brandi.
That's the inspiration. That's
but
so
at the same time,
childish.
Jay-Z signed him. I mean, he does some music that, a lot of
7
guys
gold
really
records.
like. I guess.
Well, he also was talking about when he was talking about how he's vulnerable and he loves love. He just recently lost the love of his life. And he says, I was dating this woman. I thought we were going to get married. She's the most famous person in the world. I can't tell you who it was. And I looked it up. But Drew, I don't know if you did Googling on this. I looked up, like, who is he dating? Are there photos of a couple together? There's nothing.
Well, I mean, she's the most famous person in the world. You can't just out that.
And then he comes back and talks about it again. And then he says, I'll tell you after the show, which I got to tell you, as a listener, was pretty disappointing. Doesn't do a lot for me.
Yeah, but that shows you the kind of buzz this show has, because I didn't even see anyone talking about it. There wasn't like a tweet or a subreddit. No one's just like, who was Gashi with? I have to know.
Yeah, was he talking about another person in the music business? I think, like the biggest female star. It was preposterous. I just frankly didn't believe him. I just think he's lying.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know. I don't know what his angle was, because it wasn't an interesting thing to talk about. But let's get back to, because I'm very confused by this. I need your guys' help on this one. So we're getting back to, this is my clip number 12. They're vibing. They're relating to each other. And he says something here that was confusing to me.
I got a therapist recently from he does the chain smokers and shit. And he was like, there's a lot of pain in your eyes. Like when you talk, you smile. And I'm just like, motherfucker, that's what I do. Like,
Me too.
I'm happy.
I'm happy too.
Yeah.
Just because I'm smiling doesn't mean that I haven't gone through shit.
Absolutely.
You know what I
Sure.
mean?
He's contradicted himself, didn't he?
Well, is he marketing himself? I love love. I'm vulnerable. I have a therapist. Isn't he just marketing himself to chicks right now?
Yes, I agree with you on that. But he says, I'm seeing a therapist right now. And then he says that the therapist is also seeing Chainsmokers, the band.
Yeah.
Did he just out the band Chainsmokers?
Is
he a therapist?
Oh, I like that the Chainsmokers go to therapy together.
That doesn't make any sense either.
No, 'cause they
guys know
don't.
we're already seeing the drummer. I can't see you too.
Of course not. You can't see both of them.
He makes it sound like he bumped into them in the room, the reception room or something. Oh, Chainsmokers have the next appointment. How about that? The whole fucking band? What?
Into the lobby. Yeah.
What is he saying? And another thing that I think Drew picked up on. So this guy was born in Africa, as I mentioned, and he was homeless. He said he didn't have a home, a roof over his head until he was 16 years old. And so when the therapist is just like, you got a lot of pain, because I can tell because you're smiling and trying to mask your pain. And he's like, no, I'm actually pretty happy. Things have gone pretty well for me. Doing a lot better than I used to do, kind of thing.
But
a new therapist. I didn't understand his story, because he also said that he grew up watching television. That's like English is his fifth language.
Right. Yeah, right. I would like a forensic accountant on that. But Karl, I don't know if you got the clip about him watching American TV.
No, but he was talking about how, so the only station that would come in were these cowboy movies, and we had to adjust the antenna in order to watch it. And that was the only thing that would come in. I didn't know English, but I would just sit there and watch it.
Bullshit.
Never made any sense.
But that sounds like you're in a home. That doesn't sound like a homeless person.
Well, he also said that they had to sit on the floor until their neighbors threw out their couch, and then they brought that inside, and that was what they said on. I'm like, hold on a second, you're homeless, but now you do have a house, but and your neighbor's couch.
You also have furniture and a fucking black and white TV with a shitty antenna, but that's still a home. That's not homeless. I mean, it's starting to really feel like a grift to me at that point.
Yeah, I don't know that Tish and Brandi were following up with the hard-hitting questions.
No, they were not.
I at least want to hear him speak all 5 languages just to prove it more than anything.
So you'll notice that on these clips, Tish doesn't talk very much. I think there's a reason for that. If you play my my 13th clip on here, you'll see what she brings to the show.
Because
seriously,
I still had to bust my fucking ass. You have no idea.
And absolutely.
Yeah.
And
I'm going to start a show that's called "I'm Out of It." just phone it in. Hey, sorry, I'm out of it. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I don't know if she made a single point the whole show. She just really agreed with him and repeated what he said back to him.
They were just vibing the whole time. So let's talk about Gashi being sober. He's 11 years sober, and he's very proud of himself, as he should be. That's great. So in my 5th clip on here, he talks about, whenever you have an addiction, you have to replace it with other things. And I've never heard someone maybe it's because English is his 5th language. I've never heard someone describe it like this.
What happens is when you go sober, you replace the vices with other shit. I replaced it with food. And I replaced it with sleeping a lot. Well, not sleeping, but actually sleeping with people.
Oh.
it became terrible because I would be like having sex all the time.
What a pain.
Terrible.
Well, how awful.
What a bummer, dude. Tell your therapist about that?
Is that really up to you? So he can just fuck people whenever he feels like it, like he can open up a beer. It's that easy?
Well, obviously, he's a huge megastar. I thought that was funny that he goes, I replaced drugs and alcohol with food and sleeping. They're like, oh, okay. Sounds like you're depressed. He goes, no, I mean sleeping with hot babes.
Yeah.
God, stop, baby.
Yeah, no, he seems like he's really trying to impress us, and he couched that in a way like, yeah, fuck a lot of people. It's not my fault though. It has to do with my my vulnerability, my alcoholism. And then earlier when he declares that he's dating the hottest chick in the world and they just broke up, I mean, isn't he kind of saying everyone wants me?
Oh, yeah. No, there's no doubt this guy loves the smell of his own farts. Yeah. I got the sense throughout the entire show. He talked about, if you remember this, Drew, he talks about leaving $1 million on the table. He goes, I walked away from $1 million because this tequila brand wanted me to be their spokesperson. I did it for like a month, but it wasn't my vibe.
Yeah.
I had to bail on that.
It wasn't authentic.
It wasn't authentic. So if you go to my my clip number 9 on here, he's talking about the reason why he decided to walk away from that.
I mean, that's why I told you, like, I didn't want to be claiming that I drink or do drugs.
No.
If I don't do it. I'm happy. I'm proud of it. I told my mother I was never going to do it, and I stopped it. And I want to be the face of like non-alcoholic drinks. Like, how cool would that be to be the face?
Well, I feel like people being sober from alcohol, it's like a thing right now.
First of all, being the face of non-alcoholic drinks is not cool. It's not cool.
Drew,
No
could
such
you
thing.
imagine if on the labels of water, soda, milk, juices, cider, smoothies, coffee, tea, sports drinks, energy drinks, and hot cocoa,
Is
there was
Gashi
Gashi right there. He's the face of everything that doesn't have alcohol in it. It's amazing.
totally ridiculous?
So stupid. He goes, you imagine how cool that'd be to be the face of non-alcoholic beverages?
No.
Which ones?
Getting sober is so hot right now.
Yeah. Well, then they go on to talk about how all the cool it's just looking good. They go on to talk about how all the cool people are getting sober, including Tish's husband. Now, Tish says, yeah, actually, my husband got sober when we started dating because he said, you deserve the best version of me. So I need to be sober. And
Oh, God.
I know, so annoying. So and then Gashi hears that and drops this little humble brag in. This is my track number 10, where like I picked up what he was doing here.
And
he drinks the non-alcoholic beer.
he
though.
does. He does love
Me
non-alcoholic
too.
beer.
I had one of those on my boat.
my boat. Get out of here.
I missed that.
I had one of those on my boat.
He wants Brandi or he wants Tish or both. I don't know. I don't know which it is.
yeah.
It's probably both of them. But he's a nonstop bragging machine, isn't he? I mean, he's doing it in a very sideways fashion, but he's really trying to come off as just the coolest, greatest guy ever.
It's like if you saw me at the bar and you're like, oh, Karl, you're ordering tequila. I didn't know you like tequila. I'm like, yeah, I like to drink it on my private jet too. But anyway.
And I have four
about
nephews.
me.
I pay for everything.
Everything, yeah.
What a weird thing to disclose. I mean, my four nephews. I pay for everything. I'm like their dad. What?
So weird.
And then nothing else about it? I mean,
I don't
he
know
just
about
drops
you
these
guys,
bombs.
but the reason why I listen to podcasts is for some hot, fresh takes on things I don't hear from other shows. I want to hear a new perspective on things. And so my clip number 8, they're talking about country music and pop music and how things are evolving. And I just thought that this was really eye-opening for me.
And I think like change is inevitable
It
and you
is.
can avoid it. You can try to put it off, but it's going to happen. And I think change is a good thing.
Well, I was going to say, without change, there's no growth.
Exactly.
And they need to grow.
Boom. Hot take.
Never heard that before. Never heard any of that before.
Guys, I'm sorry to say this, but I'm starting to think that maybe change is a good thing.
Yeah.
I know.
I learned that from my therapist. He's also seeing the chain smokers.
There's just not a single interesting thing said on this show. Everything is just him basically bragging about what a great unbelievable guy he is. And I dismissed that when I first watched it, Karl. You actually tuned me into the fact that he is trying to get laid, either by people listening, watching, or by those two himself. Because now that I look at him, it's like, he's kind of a fat fuck, isn't he?
He replaced booze with food, so that'll happen.
But, I mean, maybe he has to work a little harder than, because I don't know him as an artist. I'd never heard of him before. He's acting like, oh yeah, my first album was #1. I don't even know if that's true. And then I had 9 gold records and all that. Oh, and I have 4 nephews. I pay for everything. I have a boat. You know, on and on and on. Maybe, you know, as a fat fuck who isn't that big a star, maybe he has to work harder than we think.
Dude, I hope he banged both of them after the taping of this.
He busted his ass.
He worked his ass off on it.
I hope he's nailing the daughter, and then Tish steals him like she did with her current
That's
husband.
right.
Noah, yeah.
Noah. Yeah.
All right, so I just have one more clip from the show. And so obviously we're all getting great vibes on this. Things are going very well. And what we're going to hear now is, I guess Brandi is hoping to take off as a star in her own right. I mean, her sister's been a mega celebrity for most of her life, so that's got to be tough. But Brandi's feeling like maybe this is her year.
Yeah, I could have fast tracked it, but I'm doing it my way, and I think my way is the best way.
That is the best way.
And my time is coming, and good things are happening.
I think your time is here.
Yeah.
And it's happening
Time is
right
here.
now.
Yes.
We're in the present time.
Let's
I
put
feel
that.
that for all of us.
I do too. I'm feeling that way for all of us.
I
Truly.
love this episode.
I love
Yeah.
hearing your name.
I love hearing your name.
God. I love this episode.
I love this episode. We're all kissing each other's asses. I love this. This is great.
This guy I think the thing this guy loves more than anything is the sound of his own voice, because he says
you're right.
things
You're
that
so
don't
right.
go anywhere. They don't mean anything.
But he's always dropping something that puts him in a good light, whether it's that he was homeless for the first 16
boat.
years and they moved here and there and everywhere, and he bought his parents a house. He pays for his nephews. I mean, everything he does is so wonderful. Karl, you didn't pull a clip, and not that I want to find it or anything, but do you remember the part where, and I can't even remember who said it, but that when you're meeting somebody, your body keeps score?
Yes.
What the fuck is that?
Apparently, because Tish can read people immediately, and she already knows if they're a good person or not immediately. And she'll say, like, someone will enter into one of my daughter's lives, and maybe they'll be in their life for 3 years, but I knew from day one he was a piece of shit. And then Brandi's like, yeah, she always knows.
Well,
Yep.
does she say anything to her kids?
Does that make sense?
I think she does, but
Oh,
then
so, yeah.
somehow this business of your body keeps score came up, and then didn't he say, "Yeah, when I meet somebody, I get in my car and have to sit there for a while, like to let his body catch up and keep the score"? It's like, what are you talking about?
Doesn't.
True. There's not even enough hours in the day for all the nonsense in this 1 hour long episode. I couldn't capture it all.
It was amazing.
It's insane. How old do you think Tish Cyrus is?
Oh,
She's-
mid-50s probably, I'm guessing. Right?
Yeah, I
Based
want to say
on
she's
Billy.
55, 54.
Yeah, 56. She looks good.
She looks great.
She does, and the daughter's cute as hell, and she's 36, I think.
I'm getting some Sydney Sweeney face vibes from her.
Yeah, she's got. If you look at her, if you
Let me pull that
right
one
on
up again.
Wikipedia.com, it has like the basic photo of her. You know, the free one.
Well, how about this? How about that one right there?
Oh yeah, her eyes are exploding out of her head.
Yeah, maybe she has Graves.
I don't know. I don't think so. I thought she, you know, when she was moving and talking live, she looked okay. When she's frozen, she looks pretty weird.
She looks good in the bikini. I did some research before the show.
Oh,
Is that right?
all right.
Yeah, it is right.
Yeah, I didn't research that. I should have.
Yeah, Gashi isn't the only one going to her Instagram page to see what's doing.
Brandi also said that in her 20s, she was in a band, but she didn't use the name Cyrus because she didn't want it to have any undue influence.
Move.
Yeah, she wouldn't want people to prejudge her music based on that.
Well, she's doing it her way, which is the best way.
I think they played a punk rock version of "Don't Break My Heart, My Achy Breaky Heart." That was a big hit for them.
But nobody knew that she was related to him. Yeah.
Everyone does things the right way in that room. It's incredible.
Yeah, well, it's because it's their way.
Well, there's the right way, and then there's the Joe Matarese way.
Oh, yes.
I want to tease something, Drew. I don't normally do this on the show, so my apologies. But before I came on, I was starting to check out Joe Matarese, the guy we've been following lately on his podcast, and he's terrible at podcasting. He's one of the worst.
Yeah.
But
But he does okay as a stand-up, doesn't he?
Well, he was a big up and comer. He was on the Howard Stern show. He was on America's Got Talent. He was on, what was that NBC stand-up show?
Last Comic Standing.
Last Comic Standing. So he's got credits in the business, as they say. I'm learning a lot about credits in the business with all these has-beens.
Yeah, Karl, doesn't he refer to his credits almost as much as Stuttering John?
Under every video, there's a list of everything you might know him from. He was on Stern in 07, all right? I listened back then. I don't remember. That was a long time ago.
Wow. And did he work for Compound for Anthony Cumia?
He was on Anthony's show all the time.
Okay.
On Compound.
Wow.
And of course, we covered recently, I think we talked about it on this show. I did a bonus show where he used to do this podcast called Fixing Joe because he married a psychiatrist. And so his wife put him on SSRIs and got him into therapy and totally changed him as a person. And so he started doing a podcast about like, what's wrong with me? Help fix me kind of thing. And he had on this live show, Jim Norton, Artie Lang, and Anthony Cumia, and all they did was roast him for an hour, and he was so deflated and bummed out at the end of it. It was great.
Yeah, and he had rented the club out. He'd paid camera people and audio people.
He had a band there. It was crazy.
Oh, my God. Yeah, and it turned into a big joke. And then it got out. He put it behind his Patreon wall, but then it got out so everyone could laugh at him. And he's been kind of a LOL cow since, right?
Yeah, and actually, we're on his radar now. So we just covered a recent episode where he's going, who are these podcast guys are saying I'm not good as an interviewer. And they're right. I'm not very good.
Yeah, that's funny. He referenced it a couple shows and he said, one of them's pretty big, this Who Are These Podcasts? So he must be hearing from a lot of people.
Yeah, so he just had yesterday on his show, Ray DeVito. And Ray DeVito's been on my show a couple of times. He's a stand-up comic who's oftentimes on Misery Loves Company. And so he bounces around to different shows that we're checking out pretty regularly. But Ray DeVito is like an autistic guy in his 50s still trying to make it.
As a stand-up?
Yeah, Joe Matarese is like a guy who peaked when he was in his 30s and now he's in his late 50s. And so you get these two together and I'm like, I got to check this out. So I was checking it out for tomorrow's episode of WATP and I pulled one clip as just a teaser.
Oh, cool.
That I thought could be fun for us to see what's going on. So you have on here, Joe brings on Ray as his guest and decides, hey, we just had the Academy Awards. We should probably talk about that with Ray DeVito. And I think you're going to see how well this is going to go with this short clip here.
I want to dabble in the Oscars here, even though Ray said he didn't watch any of the Oscars last night.
No, I didn't. I watched some of the movies. I couldn't get through Mastro. Mastro was one that was nominated. I just could not get through.
Oh boy, we're off to a bad start. He's trying to introduce this segment. All right, we're going to talk movies now with Ray DeVito. What do you think, Ray? I saw Mastro. It wasn't great.
Mastro?
Karl, if the guest tells you I didn't watch 1 second of it, wouldn't it be a better idea to talk about something else?
Yes, correct. Joe, you have to pivot at that point, especially when the guy says Mastro instead of Maestro. But instead, Joe goes right into it. He's like, well, I had this poll with my family. We all took our picks, and my cousin got 16 right. And it's just like, what? Who cares?
No, I know. It just was it was like you should never have discussed it after Ray said that he wasn't, he hadn't watched it. But then to talk about this garbage, nobody gives a fuck that your brother-in-law got 17 out of 23 categories and you only got 10.
I'd rather hear about Brandon's fantasy baseball team when he drafted.
I agree.
Coming up?
Got about a week and a half here. I'll let you know.
All right. Who are your keepers?
I thought it was also funny that in the description, Joe says, the fans have been suggesting that Ray and I do a show together to see if this would be some dream matchup, like for a future podcast. And
I was going to say, by fans, he means me and the Blind Mike Project, because he knows we're going to get like 5 episodes out of it.
And I was the 49th view. It had been out for like 2 hours. So that's how much the fans were clamoring for that podcast.
It's hilarious.
So what's anything new with Stuttering John?
What isn't new with Stuttering John? I mean, this guy, we do Point Dabble Point every Friday where we cover the week of Stuttering John. And every week I get on there and I say, I can't believe it. It's only been 7 days. And we have so many new things to talk about. Obviously we had the whole thing with calling out Keanu. We had Missy B on our episode 500, who's Anthony Cumia's girlfriend, who John called a sperm receptacle.
Yes. Oh, he was
we
brutal.
had her on to respond to that.
Oh, I wanted to ask you, I did catch a little bit of the show, was it yesterday or the day before, and John said that Vince the lawyer, he will never speak to him again. And Vince is like this longtime sort of semi-ally of his. What went south? Did he offend Richard Ojeda?
Yeah, so what happened was, I've been telling John for years now that Vince the lawyer is always trolling him. And John goes, no, we're actually really good friends, Karl. You don't know what you're talking about. And then Vince will troll him. And then John will say, I'll never talk to you again. And then the next day, Vince is back on his show. Because this is what Vince does. He does this with High Pitch Eric as well. Vince is a guy who's latched on to different whack packers with Howard Stern show and fucks with them. So John's on his political show with his buddy Richard Ojeda, who he wants to impress. Yeah. And he gets a super chat from Guinea the lawyer, who happens to be one of the sock accounts of Vince the lawyer. And it says something about how hot this woman is or how much he wants to do this woman. And it lists Richard Ojeda's wife's maiden name.
Yeah, boy.
So John goes, I don't know what that means. I don't know. And Richard goes, I'll tell you what, I will shove my fingers out of your eye sockets if I ever see you. I will curb stomp you. He's like, it's all fired up. So John's like, I don't know. I'm sorry. Takes it off the screen. So then he's like, oh, you're dead to me, Vince. You embarrass him in front of his friend.
Oh, man. Okay. So, yeah. And then was there something about, did he suggest that did he offend his military service somehow, too? Did he call him Cadet Ojeda?
Yeah, he came up with a new nickname instead of the Army Major, as John calls it. Army Major. He was calling him Cadet Ojeda. So, wow. Yeah, that was very insulting, apparently.
Should we play the clip? Did you find it, Brandon?
Yeah, here it is.
Here you go.
Lawyer, thanks to $2. Raise hand if you would do Kelly Ann Bismer. Who is that?
And let me tell you something, Jenny. Let me tell you something.
I don't even know who that is.
You're a cowardly motherfucker. That's my wife.
That's your wife?
Sorry. Yeah. It's her maiden name is that. Let me tell you something. I guarantee you that if you and me were face to face, you would never say anything like that to my fucking face because I'd stomp your fucking ass.
Well, first of all, I'm sorry, Army Major. If I would have known, I wouldn't have put it up. Second of all, Vince, you finally got on my good side, and now you're gonna fuck with this guy's wife, you motherfucker. Now you fucking pissed me off. Fucking asshole. Sorry, Army Major.
Sorry, Army Major.
Okay.
JG.
Who's the guy on the far right, Karl?
Yeah, so the Brian Karam, who's been on MSNBC, he's supposedly a legit political pundit. He's on there, and I want you to replay that video at the beginning. You're going to notice, if you just focus on him, just focus on Brian.
Okay.
He obviously snorts a line of something.
Oh.
He takes his head off camera, you hear a loud snorting noise, and he comes back on, he's just like, what happened? Watch this.
Really?
Raise hand if you would do Kelly Ann Bismer. Who is that?
And let me tell you something, Jenny. Let me tell you something.
I don't even know who that is.
You're a cowardly motherfucker.
Oh.
That's my wife.
Oh, no way.
That's my wife.
What a
catch.
catch.
Wife?
Yeah, it's her
And then if you go to the end of the clip, you hear him going,
I guarantee you that if you and me
What a catch, Karl. It's great.
yeah, look at this.
Well, it could be some neosynephrine.
Oh, yeah, because you go off camera to shoot neosynephrine in your nose.
Sorry, Army Major.
That's all good.
Wow, what an eye, Karl. Wow.
That's what it takes to be on a show with Stuttering John. That's why I've only done it twice in my life. I can't. It's too much.
Oh, man.
Oh,
That's
good
fucking
shit.
nuts.
The Army Major.
So yeah, never a dull moment in the world of Stuttering John Melendez. It's unbelievable.
No, I'll say. So what's going on this week? Anything you want to plug? You got your show in Largo?
Yeah, we're doing our, we have the live show in Largo March 22nd. Get your tickets for that. It is WATPlive.com is where you can get the seats for it. And it's not a bad place to be on a weekend in the Tampa area of Florida near the end of March. It's going to be a lot of fun down there. So looking forward. We got a lot of cool things lined up for it. Tomorrow, we're going to be doing our midweek show. It always comes out on Thursdays, but if you're on our Patreon or our YouTube, you can watch it live at 5 o'clock Eastern. And we're going to be reviewing a show called Trash Tuesday. We've talked about it before.
Oh, yeah.
And it's interesting because Annie Lederman just left the show.
Oh, you know what? I noticed that show. Maybe you said something about it. I just looked it up, and it had, 600,000-700,000 views, and it's these three females Kalila's not a comic, is she?
No, Kalila, of course, is on Tiger Belly with
Bobby Lee's ex.
Used to date. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so it turned out Bobby went on the first show. They got a zillion views, and then they're getting all these views. I'm like, God, I can't believe these people make it look so easy. Anyway, they're down to like 50,000 an episode now.
Now it's getting really
down.
bad because Annie's like the biggest star on the show, and she just left. So there's all this controversy and what happened and why is that happening. So now it's just down to Kalila and Esther. Esther's like 8 months pregnant. So I don't know if this show's going to last much longer. I thought that would be a good time to pile on.
Yeah, it's weird when you watch something like that and the views are just going down because, you know, in radio, we get a rating book every month. I mean, a trend for the month, and then you get something every 3 months. It's just weird when you can actually see episode views going down so steadily like that. I can't imagine, but I'm not surprised it's falling apart based on what I saw.
It's a bummer, but speaking of that, we've also incorporated stakes into our every other week competition show. So for a while during our midweek show, we were all trying to bring the worst podcast in a different category. And so we would compete and then people would vote. We'd put a poll up online, people would vote. But that was just like, all right, I won or Lucy won or Andy won. There wasn't any stakes to it. So now we've incorporated that the loser has to go back and watch one of the horrendous podcasts we reviewed in the past. So, fortunately, producer Chris and I won. So, Trucker Andy and Lucy Tightbox tomorrow have to bring in, like, hopefully, like Sarah Silverman or whatever June Diane Raphael is doing, and present that for the class.
Congrats on the 500th episode. It was a great episode. I love the Dak Shepard stuff. I just can't believe what I'm hearing.
Yeah, thank you for that. That was Vinny brought that, right? The Dak Shepard, or was that Andy?
That was Andy.
That was Andy, yeah. Yeah, and I didn't know he was going to do that, so I was excited for you, Brandon. I know how you feel about Dax. And boy, that show has gotten so bad. And I think the point I was trying to make is that this has to be for middle-aged stay-at-home moms.
I totally agree. And their callers were female. Weren't all their callers female?
They're fake callers.
It's just a time filler. It's just something that's noisy in the background while you try to wait for your husband to get home. I know that sounds very rude and misogynist,
but he's making $10 million a year off that show. He's got to deal with Spotify.
Yeah, I don't think people are listening anymore, though. I don't think that's going to last forever. I don't think he's going to get the Joe Rogan second contract.
Oh no, absolutely not. Anyway, that was a great episode, Karl. Congratulations, and we'll see you real soon.
Thank you very much. WATPlive.com will be in Largo, Florida, March 22nd. Good to see you guys.
Sounds great.
Later, Karl.
See ya.